Good morning and welcome to this box. This is a really fun box. I learned some stuff about WordPress and it's overall just a really great time. So, this is Sunset Midnight, hosted on OSCP Proving Grounds Play. It's an 8-point box, rated intermediate/hard, which I don't think it's an unfair assessment. But it's not too bad. It's just a lot of fun. So let's jump right into it. Nmap. Scan C, scan V, blah, blah. Sunset Midnight. And appearance. I apparently don't know how to increase the font size, so I'll have to figure that out for another video. But I've been noticing that this is kind of small. Control plus, Control Shift plus. Oh, Shift plus, and it does it per terminal. I'm trying to be a little more mindful of that stuff. Anyways, so Sunset Midnight is going to show us, it's going to show us SSH, it's going to show us web, and the normal port for MySQL 3306. So let's just start by going to Sunset Midnight. One big thing that you may run into is this particular host name. It's going to try and redirect to it, so you'll need to put this host name into your host file. And let me cat etc hosts. So I started with the IP address to midnight.pg, and then I added Sunset Midnight with the same IP address. So not a huge deal, but it'll make you a lot happier. So we see this is WordPress. Very, very nice. We start with WordPress scan, and that's totally fine. I'm just going to go Sunset Midnight, and then also try to enumerate users. Since I learned that, I'm adding that from now on. And I'll have to see what else there is for me to learn about that. So it finds the admin user and nothing else really. Everything's green. There's this thing just out of date. Not a huge deal. But that gives us a little bit to think about. So the next thing to do, we could try brute forcing the username admin on WordPress or on SSH. It's unlikely to be SSH because admin is usually just contained within the WordPress ecosystem. So the next fun thing to do is to look at MySQL and try and brute force root on that. Root p user share word lists rocku.txt, and what's the other syntax? Hostname, Sunset Midnight, MySQL. The I is for ignore any paused ones or any broken sessions. I've just been adding that for funsies. So it's going to attack that, and it should give it to us very quickly. Password Robert. So we log into it. MySQL u root host Sunset Midnight. P for password Robert, and we're in. Show databases. We can look at all of them, But for the critical path, we want the WordPress database. So use WordPress DB. And I could have used a semicolon, but I didn't need to. Show tables, semicolon. There's WordPress users. Show WordPress users. Just kidding. I knew that wasn't going to work. Select star from WordPress users. Semicolon. There we go. So we have this admin, and then we have a hashed and salted password. Now, one thing that I learned in going through this is that by default these days, WordPress hashes and salts its passwords. But to maintain backwards compatibility, it can still have just a regular old MD5 hash in here for the password, and it'll work. So we don't need to try and crack this or anything. We can just overwrite it. I'm going to my written out walkthrough. Copy. Paste. Update the WordPress users table. Set user pass, which is this key, or not the key, this table column heading. User pass equals quote, then this, which is password with a 0 in place of O, which I don't personally use for my passwords. And then update that where ID equals 1. So 1 is the key here. We could have also used where user login equals admin. Probably. I don't have the most experience with it. And then let's just take a look. There it is. So now we're going to log in as the admin user. We're going to go to WordPress login.php. Admin, password, and we're in. Now, the vulnerabilities that I leveraged with this is surrounding plugins. It was super cool. The first thing that I tried, that I kind of learned about, it was the easiest one to do, is this thing on GitHub. Where is it? It's called Wet Work. There we go. I don't have the link to it, but I'm going to do it here. GitHub Wet Work WordPress. So what this involves is, this is a Python script. It generates a malicious WordPress plugin, and then it gives the option to initiate a interpreter handler, and so that works, and I'll show you how that works. So you see here there's malicious.zip, and then that's what's generated from the script. Where's my Python script? Oh, there we go. I named it wordpwn.py. I think that may be the name of it. But we can actually just run wordpwn.py just as it is. And you see it asks for localhost, local port, and handler. Handler is a yes or no. I haven't tried the no before. I know that the yes generates it and builds the interpreter into it. So it generates malicious.zip. Let me remove that because that's going to have a different IP from what I was using yesterday. So wordpwn.py localhost. Let's go 80. Well, I guess 80 is fine. Actually, yeah, 80 is fine. 80 and then 192.168.49.135 and then yes for the handler. I'm not going to experiment with the no for the handler. Just because I don't want to waste too much time. I know this way works, and then the other way works too. So from here, we go plugins, add new. Oh, and this quit. The last time I used it yesterday, it just hung there, and that was fine. But I guess we'll just have to do it again. And basically, like, it'll probably generate it again, but we won't need to like use the new one or anything. So this website is a bit slow. You know, we gotta wait just a little bit for it to get where it needs to go. All right, and it looks like it ran into an error. I thought I reverted this box, and I think I did, but whatever. We're just uploading anyways. The other thing I would have shown you, and I still might, but it'll probably happen from here, is just editing a plugin in place. And interesting things that are involved with that. It's super fun though. So we installed it, then activate it. Let me get out of that. And I'm going to do that again so that's listening, and then I'll quickly activate it once that says it's listening. Oh, fine. That's a little bit weird. It's a little different from yesterday, but it's okay. Because we activate this, and then we're going to go, I think we need to go to the website that it's at. That being said, when I, yesterday, or earlier when I just activated my malicious zip plugin, it just happened. So that's activated. Then the website to go to is that. It's just the author and then the name of the page. And well, this page loaded effectively now. I don't know why this is. Oh, maybe I have something listening on port 80. That's unlikely. But that's got to be it. Oh, that's what it is. So that's not going to work. But it's okay. I'm just going to own that. And, you know, you get to see how, you know, you can make mistakes and survive them. So, one thing before I do that, exit rm malicious, because it's going to have that weird local, local host and local port in there. I'm going to regenerate that. And I guess that teaches me to read, because if I had read the first time, I would have seen that. So we're going to deactivate that, and then delete it, and then re-upload it. And then we're going to see it connect in the background once we get to the right place. So I'm just going to pause this real fast while that does that, because again, it's kind of slow. All right. And then we delete it. Okay. And then we're going to add another one. Same dealio. Got that weird error in there. It's fine. Browse back to malicious. Open install now. And then activate. All right, and we're almost there. So let's get back to the malicious website. Copy. Oh yeah, right there. And watch down here as it connects. There we go. And we can do stuff from here, but I just like to drop down into a shell. And then from there, let's see if we can do this. I forget if I tried this yesterday. We can. So we are in there. Let's just go to home, look at users. So there's a user of Jose. So let me actually just pause this, and we're going to go back to that plugin thing, and I'm going to show you how we can do this without the interpreter handler, because I think on the OSCP test, any use of interpreter counts as your Metasploit use, and you really don't need it here. Exit, exit, clear screen, exit, clear. I'm just going to start that on 80. Go back to the website. Go to plugins, and we're going to look at this one right here. We're going to go plugin editor. And while this is loading, I'll talk this through. So we're just editing, understand, we're editing this stuff. You see this is just PHP code. Cat prs.php, that's my PHP reverse shell. Copy all that code. Make sure it has the right IP address. And make sure I'm just copying because I'd catted it before. All right, cool. Copy selection. And we need to make sure that this header stays here. When I first did this, I removed all of it. But we got to make sure that header stays there because it looks for that. The other thing to watch for is now we have this PHP statement and this one. So let's just remove this one. I've got localhost, local port, update it. Now, what's funny, let's see, can I activate from here? No, it's fine. Install plugins. And then we're going to activate it. And right when we activate it, hopefully it'll connect. If it doesn't, we can look for its website. But there it is, right there. So that is super cool. Let's again get that nice little shell. And now we look for either user pivoting or just straight privilege escalation. I started with looking for straight privilege escalation. And what's really funny is that actually helped me. Let me show you how. Well, let's do ID, of course, no other groups because it's the www data. Find our normal SUID search. And there aren't very many. One thing I did notice is this status one here. And so what I did was I did cat user bin status just to see what it does. It's a binary file. Okay. So then I just executed it. And it's an OpenBSD SSH server. And so I started thinking, I'm like, hey, am I supposed to update a config file so that when I launch it, etc., it'll bring that in, maybe, or maybe it'll run as root and I can just insert something. But now let's say user bin status, it's only readable. So it's set UID, set group ID, but there's no write permissions. So the thing to do is to try to pivot to the Jose user. So we list home Jose. All there is flags. Let's actually LSLA home Jose. There's stuff in there. There's nothing useful. The critical path here lies back in the var www HTML. I think WordPress. Yeah, WordPress. And we look at WordPress config.php. Right in here, we see DB user Jose, DB password, which kind of looks maybe like an MD5 hash. I started with trying to reverse it. Didn't do anything, so I was just like, let me just pivot to it. And sure enough, boom, we are Jose. So the question again, what do we do? How do we do it? One cool little note, I looked at video because video is highlighted in red under the Linux privilege escalation helper script. And it can get screenshots and stuff. So that's fun, but not useful here. So I just looked for status again. I was like, hey, let's just try to run that. And it ran it. And let's see, what was my eureka moment for this? I forget what made me look into it. It was probably the fact that I got errors here, whereas I didn't get errors from the web data user. But I just wanted to look at, I wanted to look at as much as I could from that binary-ish. So we look at this. Oops. Strings user bin status rep service. And when you look at service, this is starting up. It's saying service SSH status. And you notice that it's not using the absolute path. It's using a relative path. So, how do we leverage that? What we do is we set our path. Path equals home Jose concatenated with path. We look there. So cd home Jose. And then we make something called service. Insert hash bang bin bash. Trying to see why my V is acting a little differently. That's right. The reason this is different, I'm going to exit out of here. Let me make sure I have his password. Oh, his password's over there. Right. No, it's not. His password's up here. Whoops. I'm so used to control insert. Copy selection. I SSH'd to Jose's user. SSH Jose at sunset midnight. There. So, and then we need to remake our path. So path equals home Jose path. There we go. V service. And if I didn't have this to leverage, you know, we could just echo stuff into the file, but it's so much nicer when we can just do this. Hash bang, bin bash, and then bash interactive. And I think that's it. Just kidding. Chmod plus X service. Dot, oh, and then status. There we go. Nice little hash there. cd root ls. And that is that journey. Super fun. I am really happy with that. I learned a little bit, maybe a medium amount, and it was just a really fun time.